Hi, my name's Paul and I'm part of Worcestershire Archive and Archaeology Service. This film is about formal learning and it goes alongside a toolkit that we have produced that will go into more detail and provide various links and suggestions and ideas in written format that you can refer to later. For formal learning, we're taking the definition as learning as part of something that's structured, where there's a specific session, with specific outcomes and learning. For instance, school visits and workshops, but also colleges and university, and also adult education. Activities where there's a specific visit where people come along and it's all planned, structured, and where everybody is doing the same thing as part of a particular visit. It may be that you are delivering it and organising it and running it, or it may be that you're doing it in partnership with another organisation, or perhaps with the school, college, university, or other provider, or it may be that you're just providing the venue. You may have a venue that people come along and it's a case of here you go, and they can run their own formal sessions at your venue using the resources that you've got or your historic building.
Now we're going to hand out some of these hand axes. They are called hand axes because, as you can see, they fit nicely in the hand. This is a Neanderthal hand axe. You can see the slightly different shape to the modern human hand axe here, but both have been carefully carved away to actually make a blade and to make it a portable tool. So if I just hand these out and you can feel them, imagine what it's like to be in the time when these were made and when they were used. And we can see if you can spot them in any of the images that we've got here. They are there. They are, although designs change over the years, you'll see that they're all the same sort of shape and the same tool that can be used. Imagine what it was like. It's just over 100 years ago since World War I. So what could it be like to be at school? How do you find out about this? Well, we've got some old photographs to look at here. We'll be handing these out in the groups. And so have a look at the photographs and have a look at what the children and women are doing. Because, of course, men would probably be at war or working hard elsewhere. Here we've got letters from a school logbook. So each head teacher would actually write something about a day, and you can actually read these bits in red, which are slightly clearer than some of the others. Another source of information would be the newspapers at the time. And here again, we've highlighted in red something for you to read and to imagine what it's like, and think about what sort of activities went on around the home.
So there are a number of things to think about when planning sessions, when you're thinking about what you can do and what you are able to offer. The first thing is, what can you offer? What is your, as they say, unique selling point? Is it your building, artefacts, the local history, collections, resources, staff knowledge? We've already touched upon that, but it's worth repeating that and thinking about that. Stick to your strengths. Keep it simple. For instance, people have come to us, Worcestershire Archive and Archaeology Service, about a session about the Great Fire of London, or about the archaeology of ancient Greece. And in both cases, we had to say, that'd be lovely, but I don't think we're the people to do that. And we concentrate on what we have, the local Worcestershire resources that we have in the collections and the archives and the local archaeology. And then the flip side is, what do schools want? They need a good excuse to break the normal timetable and potentially spend money. So they need to fit the curriculum, which you can check online, or some other key reason for working with you. Are you able to ask, are there teachers who you can speak to and ask and get advice and feedback? Although always thinking that every school is a little bit different. So what one school says may not apply to another. And remember, it's not just history, although that is a very important one for museums and heritage organisations. Art, maths, drama, geography, citizenship, science, they are some of the subjects and topics that can be included. Sometimes you have a good idea, but that doesn't go as well with the school. Quite a number of years ago, we had a session that we created all about making paper. We did it with a school and a couple of other groups, but speaking to a number of teachers, it would be very highly unlikely that many schools would be able to do that because they couldn't tie it in closely enough to the curriculum and couldn't justify the time or the costs. And so therefore we've put it to one side. We could do it maybe as an informal learning activity, but it's not a priority for schools. Have you got advice or help that you can get from colleagues, volunteers, or have friends or know teachers or former teachers who can help give advice and pass on their expertise? And then planning the session. What will it consist of? Time it. What will the particular aspects be? What will you be getting the children to do? What are the learning outcomes? What will they come away with? Think about the equipment, copies of things, how they'll move around the building, the technology that might be needed, and have it all planned out and written out so that you know in your own mind, and also if teachers wanting to know, they can see as well. And others can look and just give comments and advice, and you can discuss that. And it will give you the confidence to run a session. And make sure that it's interactive, that the children will be actually doing something. And tailor it to the age and knowledge level of those children who are coming. Think about who will deliver it. Will you just have the venue and the school come along and they will run their own session using the resources there? Or will a member of staff or volunteer do something or lead it? Do you therefore need training or maybe shadow other venues or go into a school to get confidence? Always remembering that unless you have the qualifications, you're not a teacher and they won't be expecting that. What they expect from you will be somebody with that local knowledge of the collection and place. A lot of the schools will also want risk assessments, and hopefully you're familiar with those to make sure that you've thought about anything that could go wrong. And always have backup activities and plans just in case things don't quite work out or things might finish a bit early. Sadly, there is no magic bullet for contacting schools. A lot of events I've been to when there's new people in posts in different heritage organisations and saying, how do you contact schools? How do you get them to respond? Sadly, we can't offer anything that will be an instant success, and it is difficult. Have you got personal contacts? Do you know people that can help get you past the front door and explain what's happening? Quite often, personal contact is one of the best ways, and explaining what's happened. Do you know children who go to a particular school and you might be able to pass information on to teachers? Otherwise, it's things like email, maybe phoning, explaining to school secretary or whoever is opening the emails what it is and to pass it on. Putting things on social media, advertising, flyers, just try everywhere you can. Sometimes it's easier is that if you've got those contacts. If not, it's just a case of trying and just trying to do it because teachers are busy people. And because they're busy people, you need to keep selling why it is that it's going to be a good idea to come to you or to use your resources. How is that going to help them? How potentially will it help save them time or provide them a little bit of added extra? Make sure that you manage expectations on both sides. Make sure that when you're making any arrangements, that you have things down in writing, when they're coming, what time, how long for, anything that they need to provide or anything that they need to know. Otherwise, it can be very easy, particularly if there's different dates that you're talking about, that you get a bit mixed up and you have different ideas, or else they have a different idea of when they need to leave, and you're partway through something and they suddenly say, oh, we've just got to go. So make sure you have that down in writing. Make sure also, if possible, that they know what's going to happen approximately in the session, and therefore the teachers hopefully will be able to support you when things are happening and to be able to support the children. And also, make sure that they know and that you're aware that you are not a teacher, unless you happen to be a teacher with teaching qualifications. Your specialism is knowing about your collection or your museum, things like that. And so It's making sure that the teachers know that and that they're responsible for discipline and for anything with actual the children. Many years ago, we did have a situation in a place I was where we had a small number of children brought to us by a teacher for a morning, and partway through the first session, they kind of got up, wandered out. I think they were under the impression at end of term, oh, we'll just take them out there. And we were kind of, where have they gone? Fortunately, nothing happened that we needed, particularly the teacher, for, but that's isn't ideal. So it's making sure things like that and anything that they need to know, that you know in advance what each of you need and what each of you will do. Right, so this is Nina O'Hare, one of our community project officers. So we thought we'd ask her for a little bit about her experiences and some of the tips about formal learning. So Nina, what experience do you have of planning or delivering formal learning?
Yeah, so I've run formal learning sessions for a variety of groups, mostly primary schools, so either at the Hive or in school classrooms. Sometimes those have been out on heritage sites as well, though. I've also done workshops for secondary schools, sixth forms, and we've got some sessions coming up for a project soon that will be for adults, so adult formal learning sessions as well, so kind of a real mix.
What was it like the first maybe couple of times you were delivering or planning formal learning sessions?
I think the first time you go out, it can be a bit daunting. You might not be quite sure what to expect. Things might be a little bit different to what you're anticipating. So yeah, to give yourself plenty of time and arrive with plenty of setup time as well.
Are there any key tips that you think would be useful for people to know who are thinking about this?
Yeah, I think the first one probably is prepared to be flexible. It may be different, as I just mentioned, when you get there. You might find that the physical setup's not what you're expecting. The class may, or the group may get through something much quicker or much slower than you're anticipating. Technology doesn't always cooperate. So it's good to have kind of backup plans and activities, possibly just doing them in a different way, or you know, an extension or not. Try and, when you start as well, it's really useful to ask the group what they've learned and what they know about a topic already. You can sometimes be slightly surprised. You might be told that, say, a class or a group have already been, you know, studying X and Y, but when you get there, actually, they've not been able to get to it at this point. This is actually a starting topic rather than, you know, a session for the end. So that can be quite useful. And then just try and have fun as well. Just because it's a formal learning session doesn't mean that it has to, you know, be without fun. Try and be interactive and ask questions, and it's kind of a bit of a two-way process as well. So I think they're probably kind of my main tips. But particularly being flexible is that once, I think, will help you feel calmer if you're kind of prepared for kind of lots of eventualities.
Thanks very much, Nina. Do some research. Have a look online for various ideas of what other similar places are offering, what their ideas are, other venues, and see what you can maybe adapt to what you've got and your own resources. Colleges and university are also other organisations that you can work with. Similar principles to schools. What can you offer and what do they want? Differences can be that they might want a deeper experience. These are either adults or older children, and so they may want to go more in depth if they're doing A-levels, degrees, and so they may be able to look at more in-depth resources that you've got, more detailed ones, maybe even more self-led. Here are the resources, what do you want to make of them? The students are able to do more and be more independent. Once again, think about what contacts do you have, what is there locally, in terms of colleges and universities who may be interested. Although again, you're facing the issue of how do you contact them. Students are usually more engaged, but in one sense, but they can be harder to respond because they're not school children doing exactly what their teacher tells them to. And often, if they come to a session, it's up to them, as that it's not school. So why should they turn up? How will it help them? They may need it to be sold to them as what will the benefit of coming to you and for a session about the local history or whatever it is that's being offered. So you need to appeal to them as well as the tutor. Adult education is something else that you may want to offer if you're not doing it already. Sessions can be run either by yourself or with others, WEA, U3A, local adult learning. Learning new skills or subjects such as family history, house history. There is a bit of crossover, is this formal or informal learning, but you may want to put a course on, either a one-off or over a number of weeks, which has learning outcomes, has a plan, has a structure that takes people through things, helps them to learn something. What can you offer? What skills have you got? What have you got in your resources? And again, link it to think about what would people want? What would people want to come and do and potentially pay money to come to do? It's not about getting formal qualifications, but it's structured learning with an outcome. For instance, we do family history courses, so over a period of 3 or 4 weeks, they come along, they don't get a certificate at the end, but hopefully they go away with, this is how I can go forward. I've learnt certain things, I've gone through as a group how to do it, and we'll be able to put that into practice. This has been a Worcestershire Archive and Archaeology Service production, supported by Historic England.